Hello everyone and welcome back to the Wool Through the Trees knitting podcast. My name is Katie and I am a 25-year-old maker living in the middle of the woods in Rhode Island. This is a little podcast where I like to share with you all of the things that I've been knitting or spinning and yarn dyeing, which is a big part of my life because I have a hand-dyed yarn Etsy store. I feel like I need to start saying that in the beginning of the episode because I just assume that everyone knows, and I only talk about it at the very end when I talk about new things in the shop. So I feel like I need to put that at the beginning in case you're new here and you don't know. Hi, I run the Wool Through the Trees Etsy store for hand-dyed yarn. Okay, so now that is out of the way, I do have notes for today, so I'm a little bit more organized than I was last time. Today is Tuesday, October 1st. Happy October to everyone who celebrates. Officially start of the spooky season, as the kids like to say, and it's finally starting to feel like fall here. It's been feeling like fall for the past probably like 10 days or so, which coincidentally is the amount of time that it's legally been fall. But the weather is really cooling down. We've only had one day in like the past 2 weeks that's actually reached the 70s. Every other day has been in the 60s, which is amazing. It's been overcast and cloudy and humid, but that's a given when you live in New England. Every day is humid, but cloudy, overcast weather is like my favorite type of weather. So I've just been very happy. Usually we start with finished objects, but I'm going to talk about what I'm wearing first because that is in and of itself a finished object. This is the PhD candidate sweater, which is a free pattern by Hannah Mann. It's a circular yoke colorwork sweater, and I finished it back in, I think, May of this year, maybe April, but I think May of this year. And I knit it to pattern. I knit the size 3. I think there's only 5 or 6 sizes, but the sizes are like very spaced out because it is supposed to be a very oversized sweater. So this size 3, I believe, is an extra large. This has a 52-inch chest circumference, which is 16 inches of positive ease for me, which that's what I wanted. I wanted something like extremely large and oversized. And I knit like pretty much everything to pattern. I think I made the body maybe like cropped because I'm very short, so I have a short torso. I made the body of this cropped because that's what I wanted, and I knit the sleeves to pattern, not thinking I have very short arms. So recently what I did is I ripped back the sleeves. Some people were saying that I could just like cut the sleeves and graft them together, graft like the color work to the body, and I was gonna do that, and then I was like, if I'm gonna be like reknitting half of the arm anyway, I might as well just reknit the whole arm. So that's what I ended up doing. I reknit, my watch is on this hand, that's why it's all lumpy. I reknit the sleeves to actually fit my arm. Isn't that so exciting when you have clothing that actually fits you? So I took out all of this gray. This gray was originally like down to here on me, so I took it out. I did very rapid decreases to get the size 2, which is like a medium to large size. I got the size 2 for the arm colorwork portion, so it actually fits my forearm, and then I just have very short sleeves, and it looks excellent. It fits, as you can see, it actually fits my arms. I can move around. It's not like down to here, which is kind of where it was before. And before, when I had it on and I had the cuff actually at my wrist, all of the color work was just like bunched up and my whole arm was just like the plain gray main color. I was like, well, that's no fun because all of my hard work is just scrunched at my wrist. And I also felt like I looked like a court jester, which is like the strangest little image in my head, but you know how they have like the neck ruff and then like the ruffled cuffs? I just felt like I looked like a court jester. So ripped out the arms, re-knit them, and now they fit. Isn't that so exciting? So that's kind of my first finished object, but also what I'm wearing. So let's move on to, oh, I was gonna say my only finished object, but I actually have socks from last week that I mentioned were in the wash. Sorry, I'm just picking dog hair off of them. I don't have a dog, but my sister has a dog, and when she was visiting this summer, she of course brought her precious little dog with her. That sounds facetious when I say it like that, like her precious little dog, but I'm being serious. Her small dog is actually very precious and we love her. But she sheds like a maniac. So even though she hasn't been here for a full month now, I'm still finding dog hair everywhere. So just picking the dog hair off of these socks that I did not get to show you last time because they were in the wash. These are socks, these are like the first socks that I knit since May, which is crazy because usually, or in the past, I've had, you know, multiple socks on my needles at a time. I have a very full drawer of hand knit socks for myself. I always give hand knit socks as gifts. I make them for like everyone in my life. But I don't currently have socks on the needles, and these are my first socks since May, like I said. So, ooh, let's look at that. Aggressive Orange Beauty. So this is yarn that I dyed myself, and coincidentally it's also a pattern that I wrote myself. This is my broken rib or garter rib sock pattern, which is available on Ravelry. I published it probably March of this year, of 2024, and you can get it for free. It does say it's listed as $3, but I put coupon codes in the description. It's like a pay what you can. So you can get it for $3, $1, or for free if you are interested in knitting it. It is toe up with a heel flap and gusset, and it's 3x1 broken rib, but it's mirrored so that both edges of your foot are the same stitch. Let me just show you instead of jabbering on. I forgot how hard it is to put socks on your hands when you're wearing a sweater. So let's see if you can see that. Maybe not. Okay, hopefully this is slightly better. So we're simulating like it's on your foot. So this is obviously your toe, and then this is the 3x1 broken rib. And as you can see, there's a double purl line in the center, and that's so that both of the edges of your foot are the same stitch, which is something that usually bothers me in other people's sock patterns, is like if you're doing a 3x1, like 3 knits and 1 purl, one edge of your foot will have the 3 knits and then the other edge of your foot will have the 1 purl. Do you see where I'm going with this? So I want both edges of my foot to have the 3 knits. So that's that's the whole premise of these, is it's like mirrored, so both sides of your feet are the same. And like I said, toe up with a heel flap and gusset. Here's my little heel flap spread out over my fist. And then it's the same deal on the back of the leg. So front, back, you still have the double purl ridge on the back. So again, my pattern, my yarn, da-di-da-di-da, cute little socks that I might put on because it's a little chilly. So second finished object, and then the only other finished object I have to show you, same color family, is my Handspun Hat. I showed this as a work in progress last time I podcasted. This is fiber that I dyed all the way back in 2018. It was the first fiber I ever dyed. I dyed a pound of Corriedale for my first foray into fiber dyeing. Crazy, I know. So pound of Corriedale, this is the last 53 grams of it. And I just spun it, made a 2-ply, and then did a hat. You can see I have this in my Ravelry project notes as well, but on the cast off edge, I ran out of yarn with 2, 4, 6, 8 stitches remaining in the cast off. I ran out of yarn. So I ran to my closet, grabbed some undyed Rambouillet, spun like literally 2 yards of it, and just finished the bind off. There's my little baby Rambouillet tail. But as you may be able to tell, because this is the bind off, I knit this top down, which is so fun. I love knitting hats top down. So I just started at the top with a pinhole cast on, and I always use the tutorial by Very Pink Knits. I think she does a great job of explaining it. I usually go to her for all of my knitting tutorial needs. I like to watch, this is so stupid of me, but I like to watch the slow motion version of the tutorial and then feel good about myself because I can do it faster than her. So I'm definitely not competitive at all. I pinhole cast on 8 stitches and then did make 1 increases. I don't know if I did make 1 left or make 1 right, but I did make 1 increases in just a little spiral pattern for the top of the head, and then I just knit straight for the whole body of the hat, and then once I got to a good length, I did 2x2 ribbing. There's my little handspun hat, and I will put it on because it's not like it's gonna mess up my hair. But there we go. Got a little handspun hat. And the whole reason why I decided to make a hat out of this obnoxious like yellow, orange, red color is because, like I said, I live in the middle of the woods and it is currently hunting season, so it's required for you to wear a certain amount of square inches of either orange or yellow every time you go into the woods so that you don't get shot. So this is what I dubbed my hunting hat, or my hiking hat, because I think it's like 60 square inches or something, but usually a hat is enough. I also have like reflective orange like road worker vests that I wear if I'm feeling a little nervioso about going into the woods. So that is all of my finished objects. Now we're moving on to works in progress, and both of my works in progress you have not seen before because I just cast them on right after I podcasted last, which was like 2.5 weeks ago. So this is about 2.5 weeks of progress. My first work in progress, I think I legitimately cast on the day after my last podcast. So this is legit 2.5 weeks of work. This is something that I'm improvising. So the 2 skeins of yarn that I'm using for this are like oopsie skeins from my spring collection, because I spilled a container of dye as I was speckling, so there just became this huge like green splotch on 2 skeins of yarn, and I was like, well, I don't want to sell that, but I like the way it looks, so I'm gonna knit myself something. I was originally going to knit a t-shirt with these 2 skeins, but then I just started kind of improvising this design. So we'll see how it comes out. But right now it's almost like a vest or a tank top, and it's a v-neck, which I never knit for myself. I never knit v-necks. I don't really wear v-necks because I feel like a lot of commercial v-necks are like way too low, and I'm like, I don't want to show all of that. But what I have right now is just like, it's a modest v-neck. Not that I care necessarily about modesty, but I don't want to give people a free show. So anyways, let's go back to the knitting. Like I said, vest slash tank top type of thing. I'm alternating 2 skeins. It's on slightly small needles right now, but I don't really know what I'm doing. Like I said, I'm improvising. So I cast on for the back first, and I have these like almost like I-cord edges of the like back drop shoulder thing, and then I picked up those and I did short rows for like the, what is this, like the strap that goes over your shoulder. So I did short rows for that, and then I made the front a v-neck. I'm explaining this so poorly, but like, I'm not gonna write a pattern for this because I actually don't know if it's even gonna come out good. But that's what I'm doing, so it's, yeah, it's, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just like a vest tank top thing that I'm like envisioning wearing it over a long sleeve shirt, so like a vest. I'm not envisioning wearing it by itself, but I could. There's nothing stopping me. There's really also not much to say except for the fact that I'm almost done, because this is all I have left of the 2 balls of yarn that I am alternating. So there's really not that much left. I don't really know what I want to do for like the bottom hem, because all of like the edging that I have right now is like I-cord edging, and it's not necessarily even an I-cord, it's just like a double selvage edge. So I'm like slipping the last 2 stitches to make like a baby I-cord. I don't even know if you'll be able to see, but like, and I think I want to do like pick up all of the neckline stitches and do like an I-cord neckline. But for the bottom, I think if I do an I-cord hem, it'll like roll up the bottom because it's in stockinette. So I don't think I want that rolled bottom. So I'm thinking that I might do like a folded over hem at the bottom. So you'll see that probably next time I podcast. That'll probably be done. But this has like no name, no information. It's just an improvised vest-ish pattern with some yarn that's accidental. So there it is, my improv vest. What do I even have it in my notes? I have it written down as improv shirt. So that's that. Just a little update on that. My only other work in progress is a test knit. Oh my god, love test knitting. So I'm gonna show you the swatch that I made first. Now, this yarn is a sneaky sneak peek, so don't tell anyone, but my winter yarn collection will be launching on November 1st, and this may or may not be some yarn that you may or may not see in the winter collection. So here's my swatch, and I'm not going to tell you the name of this colorway, but I'm just gonna show you the swatch, and you know, you can make your guesses. So I am a very loose knitter. You might be wondering what this, like, the ridge is in the middle. I am a very loose knitter. So usually I have to go down a needle size as compared to the designer. So I knit this first half of the swatch with the recommended needles, and then the second half of the swatch I went down a needle size, and I just wanted to see like what, here's it more true to color, but I just wanted to see like what the difference would be if I did go down. I personally like the fabric that I got when I went down a needle size, but I got like exact gauge with the recommended needle, and it is a test knit, so I'm like, okay, well I can't not knit to gauge for a test knit, you know what I mean? But like, if I had bought the pattern, I would have gone down a needle size and just knit a bigger size with a smaller needle to get a fabric that I like more. So that's that long-winded explanation of little baby swatch. Little baby swatch. It's like, I hardly ever swatch. I only swatch when I do test knits. So that's like, you know, I think I only have 2 swatches. And I'm a swatch saver. I like to save them. And I only have 2, and that's my second one. So, oh, let me show you the project bag. I'm not like a project bag girly. This is kind of my one and only. No, I have 2. I have 2 project bags. And this is the one that this test knit is housed in. This fabric freaking owns my soul. Let me scooch in so you can see it a little bit better. This project bag is from Painted Fern Fiber Co. The person who owns that, her name is Diana, and her mom makes these project bags. So you can see the fabric that she chose. I'm literally trying not to squeal in delight because I love it so much. You can see this little cat here looking at a little flower pot, and there's a greenhouse, and there's garden patches, and it's just like garden goodness. I love this fabric. It's so cute. It's adorable. I love it so much. And it has little like rope drawstring closures, and then it's a round bottom bag. I love this color green. So there it is. Cutie project bag. Now let us go to the actual test knit that's inside of here. And I am alternating skeins. I have 2 skeins attached, so it's gonna be a little... Also, the way that this is constructed, I'd never told you guys the name of the pattern. This is the Lacerback Tank by Jamie Hoffman, who is Knitosophy on Instagram. And this construction, so you may be able to guess by the name, it's a tank top. I'm so bad at finishing my thoughts. The construction of this tank top is so interesting because I've only made 2 tank tops. The blue one that you just looked at is my second tank top ever. And usually in my 2 tank tops of experience, I would, you know, cast on the back and then pick up at the straps and knit down the front. This has you kind of do it in almost the same way. So you cast on the straps for the back. The Lacerback Tank, it has a lace back. I just assume that you guys know what I'm talking about. But I feel like I do need to preface this before I show you what's happening on my needles, because if I just held it up, you'd be like, that looks like a frickin' octopus. So, Lacerback Tank, it is a racer back with a lace back. Racerback? You guys know the puns. All right. Now that we've established the background information, let's look at the construction. So you cast on these little straps for the back, then you join the back neckline, you do your decreases and then increases for the racer back shape. I'm sure we all know what that looks like. Then you cast on the front straps and you do your increases. Sorry, my yarn end is in the middle. Also, low-key a V-neck, which, you know, I'm also knitting a different V-neck, but this, it doesn't look like too revealing. So you do your cast on for your straps, and then you increase, and then you join them, and then oh, big news, everyone! This is my first ever garment that I'm knitting with bust darts, which is so fun. Like, I've just never knit a garment with bust darts before because I don't really care. But on this one, there was the option. There's 2 different like sizes of bust darts, and I was like, oh, well, I might as well knit them to like test it out for her. So I knit one size and then I ripped it out, and then I knit the other size, and I'm just keeping that one in. And I'm so glad that I did, because I found an error. And I'm like, oh, I'm so justified in knitting these bust darts. So the bust darts are knit with German short rows, which people hate on German short rows, and I don't know why, because they're, in my opinion, my humble opinion, I think German short rows are mad easy. I'm also the person who was like, lace is mad easy. Why does anyone think lace is hard? All you have to do is read the directions. Not that I stand corrected, because this is a very easy lace. But just so you know where I'm at in my knitting journey, I've been knitting since 2006. So when I say lace is easy and when I say German short rows are easy, yeah, that's coming as a person with almost 18 years of knitting experience. So grain of salt, handful of salt, like gallon of salt. Take my thoughts with that much salt, okay? So we're on the bust starts, found an error in the bust starts, and then you connect on the round, and then you knit around. So all of that to say, the front and the back are not connected. You connect them at the very end. That was my extremely long-winded explanation of why this tank top construction is so interesting to me. So you connect the straps at the very end. So eventually it will look like this, but that's just a construction that I've never done before. I've always just picked up the cast on edge of the back straps and knit down the front. But you cast on for the back and cast on for the front and then join them together at the very end, which I kind of like because I feel like, especially because the entire back of this is lace, you need that like extra structure of a seam to not make it like warp with the lace, you know what I'm trying to say? So I have never done it before, but I think it's very smart. So, you know, in my humble opinion, I approve. So this is what it will look like. I'm not very far. I have 3 inches past the armpit. There's my armpit. And like I said, the lace is only in the back, so you can see the back, the front. And I think to pattern, the body will measure 10.5 inches, but it's supposed to be cropped. So for me, because like I said, it's short torso, 10.5 inches is not cropped. 10.5 inches is like, if anything, long. Usually when I knit garments, my body is 10 inches, and point blank period. Like from armpit to hem, 10 inches, that fits me regular. So to make it cropped, I think I'm gonna stop at 8 inches, maybe 8.5. Yeah, so I'll cut a little bit off the pattern, and I'll obviously put that in my notes and such. But yeah, so it's going well. I only have 6 inches to go of this lace. Let me see if you can see the lace. Also, not blocked, and I did not knit a lace swatch. So perhaps bad judgment, bad test knitting on my part, but I was like, why would I knit a lace swatch when my when my stockinette gauge is on? I'm just assuming the rest of my gauge is on. So not knitting a lace swatch, but let's see. Can you see the back? And of course, you can go on Jamie's Instagram and look at her photos of it blocked and done and beautiful. And then you can look at mine and see my crumpled up lace. It looks, right now, it kind of looks like one of those popcorn shirts from the 90s or early 2000s, you know what I mean? Because it's so like bunched up, and I can't even like spread it out enough to be able to show you, because obviously like when it blocks, it's gonna block width and height wise, and I can't like spread it in a way to like show you what it will look like, because you can see through it, so like you can't see what it's gonna look like. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm trying my best, all right? The deadline for this I think is December 4th, but I just cast this on a couple nights ago and I'm already almost done. I'm saying almost done, but I have 6 more inches of the body and I have to do lace, so I will probably finish it by the end of this month, the end of October is what I'm gonna say. But who knows, you know? I could come back next podcast and have it be done, but at the same time, with me, the next podcast could be the end of October, so you never know. You never know with me. Full of surprises. All right, so that's it for works in progress, but that's not it for the podcast because we still got spinning to talk about. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is something that I definitely should have showed you last podcast, water break. The thing that I'm going to show you is definitely something that I should have showed you last podcast, but I was so silly, and because I didn't have notes, I didn't even think about it. I didn't even remember that it existed until I went into my Ravelry and I was like, oh my god, I spun that. And I never showed it on the podcast. So this is, oh, look at how, pause. Look at how beautiful they are. That's so pretty. Let's zoom in, give a little close up. Is that not Gorgina? We love this. Okay, so if you are a chronic podcast viewer, you might have some recollection of this. This is a combo spin of Cheviot and Merino nylon. So one of these plies, the pink ply, let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. That's a bad strand, okay. The pink ply on this strand is Cheviot, and the blue ply is a 75-25 Merino nylon. So the Cheviot I bought on Etsy from, sorry, there's like an itch on my face. The Cheviot I bought on Etsy from Stargazer Fiber Arts. I will have her linked in the description. I'll have them linked in the description. And the Cheviot was a carded sliver, which I've never spun with up until when I started this. I had never spun with a carded sliver preparation before. It was very fun. I had never spun with Cheviot before. It was very fun. Cheviot has like a very curly, but like, it's not a crimpy crimp like a Merino or a Rambouillet. It's like a corkscrew curly. It was very fun to spin. It like literally practically spun itself. I think doing long draw with Cheviot would be so fun. But I don't really do long draw. I do kind of like fake long draw. So if you're a spinner, you'll probably laugh at me for the way I'm going to explain this, but if you're not a spinner, you'll probably be very confused. So here we go. When I spin on drop spindles, and I feel like when I started, when I was learning, I spun like short forward. Obviously on a drop spindle, it's different because your hands are like this, and so when you're pulling the fiber, it's like this, but I'm gonna do it like this so you guys can see it. So usually, or sorry, when I started spinning, I would spin short forward. So I would hold the fiber like this and I would pinch and pull. And I feel like that's kind of the way that everyone learns, and that's called short forward. So you're just like, it's a short pull and you're going in a forward motion, short forward. And that produces a worsted yarn, which is like dense and sleek and luscious. And as I have gotten better at my spinning, I started moving into what I would call a short backward, which I don't know if I'm using that term right, but basically I will hold, it's like baby long draw. So the spun fiber is coming out of this, and I'll like pinch it off to stop the twist, and I'll move. That's literally long draw. I'll move the fiber supply backwards and then move my finger up. So I'm doing like baby long draw, baby long draw, because I don't feel like the gravity of a drop spindle is like the best to do long draw. I could be wrong. I have seen people do long draw on a drop spindle and my mind is like literally blown because I don't understand how that works. But instead of doing like short forward like this, I'll like pinch it and do like going out of frame. I'll do like short backward, which is what I'm calling it. I don't know if that's the actual name for it because like I said, I do know short backward is like an established thing. So I don't know if I'm using that term right, but that's kind of what I do when I spin. Long story long. My first time spinning Cheviot carded sliver, and I feel like doing like actual long draw would be a dream. Then the other ply, like I said, is a Merino nylon blend, which was dyed by me It was like the most gorgeous fiber I've ever dyed. I can't remember if I showed you guys the braid of it or not, but I'm like, oh my god. I just want to dye that colorway again. Like, thank God I wrote down the recipe, but I'm just like, that was like the most beautiful fiber I've ever dyed. And so one ply, the pink ply, is the Cheviot, and then the blue ply is like blue, purple, and orange. And it's plied with the pink, and it just looks like so gorgeous. And this is probably like a true DK. There are some spots in there where it's like, that's a sport weight, but like the thicker parts are like a true DK. So it's on that like sport DK cusp. And it's just so pretty. Like, oh my. And when I spun this originally, I was going to make socks with it. But like, now that I have these two babies, these two luscious little babies next to me, I'm like, I cannot make socks with them. They're too precious. And so someone suggested that I make an Alpine Bloom, which is patterned by Caitlin Hunter, who is also known as Boyland Knitworks. Someone suggested that I make an Alpine Bloom with this as the contrasting color, but my issue, this is like so psychological and stupid, but my issue with my handspun is that I'm like, I can't do color work with my handspun because then like certain sections of it are gonna be covered up. So I'm like, I can't have like a colorwork yoke and potentially have like the coolest spots of my handspun be in the floats. You know what I'm trying to say? So like, I can't have like, I don't want it to be obscured at all. I love that idea, and I think like if I had a skein of spin cycle or something that I did not spin myself and was not attached to at all, I would be like, yeah, in this colorway, I would be like, yeah, that would make a sick Alpine Bloom, especially like what I'm envisioning is like a creamy white as the main color, and then have these as the contrasting color, because the Alpine Bloom, the contrasting color is like a flower motif for the color work, and I feel like these would make like the most gorgeous flowers in the color work, especially with like a creamy white as the main color. I just feel like that would be so beautiful. But like I said, I just can't bring myself to use this as a contrasting color when some of it is going to be obscured. Can't do it. So I think I have 550. I'll have to look in Ravelry, but I have like a lot of yardage of this. And I'm just gonna save it until the perfect thing comes along. And maybe years down the line, I will not care if some of my handspun is obscured in color work. And maybe it will eventually become an Alpine Bloom. But for right now, they're my precious babies, and every single stitch of them needs to be shown. All right? So that's some handspun. That's literally from, I think, May. Maybe April, but I think May. Maybe June. Maybe June, but I think May. Let's move on to something a little bit more recent. So last time I showed you this teeny tiny little baby handspun. And this is a traditional 2-ply. This is superwash merino combed top from Paradise Fibers, and if you are, again, a chronic podcast viewer, you will know I hate superwash merino combed top. I just hate it. At least in its like commercial preparation, hate spinning it. In like a in like a mini mill preparation, it's less bad. I know. I have very strange preferences. Anyways, this is the color Emerald Bay, Paradise Fibers Superwash Merino Comb Top. And I tried to spin it really fine. Like, I tried to spin my singles really fine because I wanted to get like a fingering to sport weight yarn. And my singles, they were easy weensy. They were like sewing thread, but this just like plumped up when I washed it. So it still is like a fingering to sport weight, but it's like plump AF, dude. This is 320 yards. So I think this is like my most generous yardage yet. This skein is 4 ounces, as is traditional with spinning fiber put-ups. They're usually 4 ounces. So I did definitely achieve my goal of spinning finer and getting more yardage, but it is like plumpy. It's very pretty. Maybe I can show you like one strand of it. So it's like, there's definitely some air in there, which I did not think I would get when I spun it so fine. But it's very pretty. It's like low-key, like from back here, this looks commercial. Like, hello? The spinning. She ate with that one. That's really pretty. So this is like 320 yards and this little baby is like 20 yards. So I have like 340-ish yards of a fingering to sport weight. My original plan was I had a couple other braids from Paradise Fibers of the same superwash merino comb top. And one of them was like blues and grays, and then the other one was purples and blues, and then this one is like greens and blues. So I was going to do a shawl with all of those colors together. Not like held 3 strands at a time, but kind of like the blue goes into the purple, goes into the green, and just have like a cascading colors shawl type of thing. I think that's a good idea. My only issue is that I don't wear shawls, like literally ever. I always feel like number one, I feel like a grandma when I have a shawl on, which is like no diss to the grandmas out there. I love you. But I can't like wear them out. You know what I mean? Like I don't ever go somewhere where it's the correct occasion to wear a shawl. So I would only ever be wearing it in my house for like warmth. And then at that point I would rather just wear a hoodie because that's just more like my style. So I never really feel like I have the opportunity to wear shawls. So I feel like it would almost be like a wasted effort to like have this fiber that I spun into this beautiful yarn and then knit into this beautiful shawl, which then goes and sits in my closet until the end of time. So I have no idea what I'm going to make with this or with any of the other Paradise Fibers superwash merino combed top that I have spun in my closet, just waiting for the right project. And I feel like usually my go-to with handspun is hats. But like I don't, you know, how many hats does one person need? Because I spent a lot of last year or earlier this year, I spent a lot of that time knitting hats. I have a plethora of hats. And like I said, I've been knitting for 18 years. You do not want to know how many hats I've made. So if you guys have any suggestions, I feel like it's really hard for me to find projects for my handspun because number one, I feel like I can't do color work. With this one, I feel like I could do color work because I'm not attached to it. The colors like are very like watercolor blended, like they don't change and shift like they do on this one. So I feel like with this one, if I were to knit like 5 stitches in my main color, I might miss like the most beautiful little stretch of color change. But with this one, like I don't want to say I could care less, but like I don't really care if some of these stitches get obscured. Like I don't mind. So something like this, I feel like I could do color work with this, but these guys I'm like attached to, so I don't want to do color work with them. And then yeah, this that would be like pretty as like a color work yoke. I just don't know what if this was a contrast color, I don't know what my main color would be, because I would want it to, you know, obviously have contrast with this like tealy blue, but I wouldn't want it to be too light of a color because then you would see the floats like behind. You know what I'm trying to say? So a lot of issues going on in my brain right now. But let's move on. Let's move on to the spinning whip. So those were some spinning finished objects. The spinning whip right now is actually almost a finished object because it's almost done. If you're new, I am poor. So when I spin, I have 2 drop spindles. I have a top whirl, which is this one, where the whirl is on the top, and I have a bottom whirl, which goes like this, and the whirl's on the bottom. So I prefer to spin my singles on the top whirl, and then what I do is I transfer them to a bobbin, which is a toilet paper roll. So that's what this is. It's my singles on a toilet paper roll. Then I spin the other half on my top whirl. I will eventually transfer this to a different toilet paper roll, and then I will take the 2 toilet paper rolls, put them in a plastic bucket, and ply them on my bottom whirl drop spindle. You know, very innovative setup, if I do say so. So these are both done. This one obviously is done because it's on a bobbin. This one I finished spinning the single last night, so I'll probably wait another day because I like to let my singles rest, and then I will transfer this. It's a very arduous process where I put my this is so stupid. I put my spindle in a colander, which is like what you use to drain pasta. So I put my spindle in a colander, and then I run down like the length of the hallway that's in my house, because to even out the twist of your single, you want like the maximum distance between your bobbin and your spindle. So I like run the length of the hallway in my house, which is probably like 20 or 25 feet, and then I will roll the single onto the bobbin by hand. And that way I get a very even twist for free. So this sits in my colander and it just like spins on its little axis, and I run the length of my house and I sit at the end of the hallway with my toilet paper roll. Takes like 3 hours or more depending on how much I've spun. So this will probably get done tomorrow, be wound onto a bobbin tomorrow, and then I'll let those bobbins rest, and then I'll apply them. So next time you might see this, although you might not, because this, I haven't talked about it at all, this is Rambouillet. It was my first ever Rambouillet spin. Very fun. I tried to spin it very fine because I want to get this a fingering weight. So I tried to spin it pretty fine. I dyed this fiber myself. This was very fun to do because I actually used leftover dyes from a totally different dyeing project, which did not, so this is like pink and caramel brown, and surprisingly that other dyeing project did not use either of those colors, but I mixed the colors that I did have in a way where I got these colors. So little labor of love to make this like pastel beauty. You might be able to see some more of the pink like up here, and then that like caramel brown. It's so pretty. So dyed this fiber myself. I was going to sell just the fiber braid, and then the more I looked at it, the more I was like, no, I have to spin that. I have to spin that myself. So I spun it myself, and I'm going to be selling the finished yarn. I can't remember if I showed you my other spinning whip from last week. Oh wait, no. I wouldn't have shown you my other spin at all, because I think, wait, maybe I'll have to go back and watch my other episode to see if I showed it to you guys. I really don't think I did, because I think I had Sunflower Dusk on one spindle. I can't remember if I had it or not. Wait, let me look at my thumbnail. hold please. According to my thumbnail, I did not show it to you guys. So if I did, and this is deja vu for you, I'm sorry. So I also, during the day that I was dyeing this fiber, I also dyed a braid of Falkland, which I have spun before. That's like my sunflower dusk from last week is also on Falkland. And I think, yeah, I have a different braid of, I have a lot of braids of Falkland in my closet. But anyways, back to the main part of the story. I dyed a braid of Falkland with, like, in my head I was envisioning like saltwater taffy types of colors, and then once that braid like cooked in the oven and I took it out, I was like, ooh, this is ugly. So I had that, like, and I was gonna sell that braid of fiber, and I was like, I don't think anyone in their right mind would buy this braid of fiber because it looks so ugly. Like, I can see the vision, I can see how it would spin up, but I don't know if everyone could see the vision. I'm sure like experienced spinners out there, you would like look at that braid and be like, ooh, well I could section it like this and this and this, and then when I apply it, it'll look like this. I'm sure, like I said, experienced spinners out there could see the potential, but I felt like for the vast majority, because I feel like I said this a while ago, but spinning is like really in right now, so there's a ton of new spinners. So I felt like if a new spinner were to see that braid of fiber, they would be like, what the heck was she on when she dyed this? It is crazy. So anyways, I took that braid of fiber once it was done and I was like, I fear I have to spin this. So I spun it and plied it, yada yada. I got a beautiful DK weight skein with 250 yards, and I put it on my Instagram story and I said it was for sale, and literally like within 5 minutes someone bought it. And I was like, well, instantly made my money back. So I don't have that to show you. I was gonna save it. And like I was going to have a dedicated handspun shop update, but I put it in my Instagram story and I was like, sneak preview, and people were like, can I have that? I was like, okay, you sure can. So I don't have that to show you, but if it seems like I haven't done a lot of spinning because I only have this to show, just keep in mind, I already spun an entire skein, and it's in New York at this very moment, so I don't have it to show you. And I think that's it. Like I was saying when I talked about spinning, I said that I was dyeing a bunch of other braids of fiber when I dyed this. Those braids of fiber are in my Etsy shop. Can you believe it? So I have a bunch of stuff in my Etsy. I have a bunch of stuff in my Etsy, which is a shock because I really truly had not had a shop update since May, which surprised me when I looked at my like Etsy analytics. I was like, oh, the last time I put stuff in here was 4 months ago. Probably not great. So I took a bunch of stuff that I had like ready to be listed, and I just like sat on the computer for hours and wrote all their descriptions and listed them all. So I have some braids of fiber for sale. I have my first ever DK weight sock set, which is so fun because the DK weight main skein was originally a yarn mop, which is a lot of people in the yarn dyeing business, myself included, do not like to waste any extra dye, so they take an extra skein of yarn and they just like use that to soak up any extra dye that they might have laying around. So the DK weight main skein is a yarn mop, and then once I saw it, I was like, oh, that reminds me of strawberry waffles. And then of course I had to dye 2 mini skeins to go with the main skein to be strawberry waffles and maple syrup. I love them so much. I need someone to make colorwork DK socks because I just think it would be so beautiful. Even if you did like contrasting heels, toes, cuffs with the DK weight sock set, I think it would be beautiful. And because there are 2 mini skeins in the sock set, you would have enough to do heels, toes, and cuffs with DK weight. I know a lot of times with a DK weight sock set, you'll only have enough in the mini skein to do like contrasting heels, and then that's it. But I give you two. I give you 2 mini skeins so that you can have enough to do heels, toes, and cuffs if your heart desires, or color work. You can go crazy with it. So I have roving, DK weight sock set. I have some just like regular sock yarn in there. A vast majority in the shop right now is sock yarn. I know summer sock camp has left us in the dust, but people still knit socks year round. So there's lots of sock yarn in there. I have updated my prices as of today. You probably may have seen the Instagram post if you're following me on Instagram, but I have updated my prices to make yarn a little bit more accessible for everyone. And what else is there? Oh, I can't remember if I talked about this last week, but I do have a mystery skein special going on right now for one base only at this time. There might be more mystery skein specials in the future, but if you like my sustainable sock base, which is obviously a sock fingering weight base, it's 70% superwash merino, 30% recycled nylon, 437 yards per 100 grams, 4-ply. If you like the sustainable sock base, which is my favorite, it's what I knit all of my own socks out of, and the vast majority of socks that I gift to people, I knit with that sock yarn. It's my favorite. It's hard wearing. It's not super soft, but you don't want your sock yarn to be super soft, because the softer it is, the more it's going to pill and felt. So it's not rustic either. This, oh, perfect example. This is my sustainable sock base, and I'm using it as a V-neck vest. Like, it's soft. It's like, here you go look at it. It's nice. It's like, it's not rustic. It's next to skin. Don't you worry your pretty little mind about that. I'm just telling you, it's not going to pill. Also, I feel like the 30% nylon really scares people away, because most people are used to a 75-25. So they see a 70-30 and they're like, whoa, never knit with that before, and I don't want to try it. I'm telling you, I prefer it. From your humble knitting friend, I prefer my own yarn. There you go. Definitely not biased. Anyways, mystery skeins for sustainable sock at I think it's 25% discount. No, I can't do math. 18% discount? Anyways, the regular price for sustainable sock is $27 a skein. If you get a mystery skein, it's only $22. You can pick if you want a true mystery where I will just surprise you, or you can pick the vibe of the skein you will receive. I think I have like 14 options or something ridiculous. So you can like go through a little drop down menu. If you see something, a vibe that catches your eye and you're like, ooh, actually, you know what? I would really love to knit some impressionism socks. You can pick the impressionism option, and I have just the skein in mind that I will send your way. Or it can be a mystery. So that's just a little thing for you to get some discounted yarn. There's nothing wrong with the skeins. It's just stuff that either I dyed it in the summer and I never listed it, and so it's like summer yarn, but you're buying it in the winter. Or some of it is skeins that I dyed for myself. Like, there's 4 skeins of a certain color. I'm not going to tell you which one. There's 4 skeins of a certain color that I dyed for myself because I had like a vision for a sweater that I was going to knit, and I just don't have time to knit myself a fingering weight sweater at this very moment. So I listed those because I was like, I truly can't. I cannot knit a fingering weight sweater as I'm dyeing my winter collection yarns. I just can't do it. So there's, like I said, nothing wrong with the skeins that are there. It's just a way for you to get discounted yarn. and for me to clear off my shelves, because my shelves in my room are bursting. They are so full of yarn. So please help yourself. I think I mentioned the winter collection. I said it was going to be releasing on November 1st. What a glorious day. It's a Friday, November 1st. So for the winter collection, I'm sure I will talk about this more in detail as we draw closer to the launch date. But my winter collection is 7 tonal colorways. I know it's a shock. I never dye tonal yarn, but I am. All 7 colorways are tonals. They are going to be on a dyed to order basis, which is a little bit different than a pre-order. With a pre-order, you have a set window where you can place your orders, then the pre-order will close, and then the dyer will create a schedule, and usually, 8 to 12 weeks later, you'll have your yarn. With dyed to order, it's slightly different because it's like a pre-order where the window never closes. So you place the order, I'll message you and be like, hey, if I have no other orders, I'll be like, hey, I'll dye your yarn today, it'll ship tomorrow, Or if I have a ton of orders, I'll be like, hey, you're number 10 in the queue, I will dye your order next Tuesday and it'll ship by next Wednesday. Something like that. So, dyed to order, pre-order that never closes. It's dyed as the orders come in, first come, first serve. So variable turnaround time, could be quick, could be slow. I'm sure with Black Friday, it might be a little slow, but you do have a full month between the collection launch and Black Friday, because Black Friday is on November 29th this year. So yeah, you have the full month of November to get your orders in fast. But like I said, I will talk about this more as we get closer, because we are exactly a month away. So you don't have to worry, don't have to stress too much about that at the moment. I just wanted to give you guys a little sneak peek, little preview, tell you my plans in case I don't get back to you as soon as I want to. I am going on a trip at the end of October. Very exciting trip. I'm sure I'll talk about that more either as we draw close or after it already happened, and I'll tell you all about it. But I'm going on a very exciting trip at the end of the month. So I think that's it. Please let me know in the comments if you have any questions. If you want to tell me about all of the fun things that you are knitting and spinning, please do. I didn't even talk about what I'm reading. Let's do that really fast. I've been recording for literally an hour, so let's talk about what I am reading. So last time I talked to you guys, I was listening to the Harry Potter audiobooks. I think I was only on book 2 or something. I finished all the way through book 6. So I finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on audiobooks. I can't listen to the 7th one. I just can't do it to myself. I've read the series multiple times. The 7th one, that's arduous. I cannot do it. You guys know me, you know I have trouble listening to audiobooks because my mind wanders like you wouldn't believe, and then I'm lost. So I really can't do audiobooks. Especially the 7th one. There's just so much going on. I do have the paper copies. I've had them since I was in elementary school. So if I want to read the 7th one at some point this year, I can. I feel no calling to read it. I feel like my Harry Potter in the Fall itch has been scratched, and so I don't feel the need to read the 7th one. I know what happens. So if the mood strikes, I have the option to read it. I don't think it'll strike. So in the meantime, what have I been reading? I started my first ever Freida McFadden book. She is very popular and very prolific. She has so many books. I was talking to my best friend Noelle We we had a book club in middle school where it was just an excuse for us to all go to each other's houses every week and hang out. And Noelle is not like the biggest reader, but recently she's really gotten into the Bridgerton book series. That's like the one book series she has ever read in her whole life. So now I'm like hype. I'm so pumped that my best friend is finally a reader. So I'm like overwhelming her with book recommendations that I think she'll like because she loved Bridgerton. And so I just started my first ever Freida McFadden, which I never told you the title. I'm reading The Teacher, which is very recently published, if I am correct. I think it was published this year. And also, to my knowledge, all of Freida McFadden books are kind of the same, where it's like a thriller murder mystery type of thing, which me personally, I think Noelle would love. So I'm like really trying to get Noelle to join a 2-person book club with just me and her, where we just read the same books and fangirl at the same time. So I'm reading The Teacher. I'm only about halfway through. It's very good right now. It's like the perfect amount of plot twist to keep you interested. But what I like to do is I kind of have a problem where if I'm reading like a mystery type of novel, my brain is so occupied in trying to solve the mystery before the book reveals it, that I don't ever get to like really enjoy the book. So what I've been doing is I've been listening to the audiobook while I'm knitting or while I'm spinning, just like doing something else to keep my brain kind of focused on that task and have the book as like a background kind of noise. And that way my brain is occupied on what my hands are doing and I can just enjoy the mystery instead of constantly trying to solve the mystery. So that's what I've been doing. It's been working really well. I have not tried to solve the mystery at all. But, you know, fingers crossed that I keep enjoying it and not trying to solve it. The other book that I have been reading, I'm listening to The Teacher on audiobook, and I am eyeball reading an ebook, which I hate. I hate reading ebooks. They hurt my eyes. I would so much rather read a paper book. But I recently learned that my dad has Kindle Unlimited, and I texted him and I was like, I had no idea you had Kindle Unlimited. You mean I could have been reading 20 simultaneous novels this entire time? And he was like, oh yeah, you can use my Kindle. I was like, my life is about to change. So I am reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue on an ebook on Kindle Unlimited. I am literally 20% in, and it's good. The premise is good. I'm not the biggest fan of the author's writing style, which I knew I wouldn't be because it's the same author who wrote A Darker Shade of Magic, I think is what it's called, but it's the one with the guy with the magical cloak. I haven't read it because I tried to read it and I was like, I hate the way this author writes. And so now I'm reading a different book by her, and I'm still not in love with the way that she writes, but the premise of the book is so good that I kind of just want to read it for the premise. It's basically this girl made a deal with the devil and now she is immortal, but everyone forgets her. Like as soon as she leaves their sight, they like forget who she is. So it's very good premise wise. The writing is a little, it's like pretentious, and also like there's just too many words, which sounds so stupid. Like you're reading for the words. Some people describe the reading or the writing as flowery, and I must agree, it's a little flowery. Like Flowery, flowery, not like baking flour, like bouquet. It's a little flowery, it's a little pretentious, it's a little too wordy for my taste, but like I said, the premise is good, so I'm gonna keep reading it. Right now, it's probably at like 3 to 3.5 stars for me, which that's fine. I have high standards. Says the girl who just reread Harry Potter for the umpteenth time. High standards. I don't think Harry Potter is good. All I have to say about that is if you are going to read Harry Potter, try and read it in a way that does not support the author, because the author is not a good person. So let's utilize physical media that does not support the author, such as the books that I've had for 20 years, or your local library, or pirated audiobooks. Not that I would ever do that, because I'm a legal eagle, but try and read the books in a way that does not support the author. That's all I have to say. So I think that is it for this very, very long podcast episode. I did not even have that much knitting, so I didn't think it would be this long, but it's over an hour. So I just wanted to say thank you everyone so much for watching. Thank you times 10 if you've stuck around this far. I love you all, and I hope to see you again very soon on the next episode of the Wool Through the Trees Knitting Podcast. So until then, happy making!